ladies and gentlemen, CERBERUS+1 is really good. This kit-bashed mess of a gun has always amazed me. Yes, it looks like a heap of garbage that's held together by pipe clamps, but it certainly does not perform like that. Or maybe it kinda does. But in all honesty, I was guilty of writing this weapon off when it launched in Forsaken. I took one look at Cerberus, stuffed it in the vault, never to be seen again. But when I reviewed this auto rifle initially, about 8 months ago, I was quick to realize that that was a mistake. Cerberus is strong in both PvP and PvE, and I wanted to re-review this gun for a few reasons. My initial review left out PvE. That will be talked about here. I really don't think I did as good of a job with the damage testing as I could have. In this one, we're going deep. And I also wanted to explore Cerberus' synergy with stasis. So in this one, we're going to be getting into that also. But I will say this right now, when I pick up a primary weapon and I don't feel the need to switch to my special weapon, and I don't care about pulling heavy ammo in PvP, and I don't even want to cast my super, I think it says something about the gun. But if you don't have CERBERUS+1 yet, this is a random world drop, or can be purchased from Zerb. So if you're hunting for a Cerberus, may RNG be kind to you. And if at any point during the course of this video you find it useful, helpful, or enjoyable, hitting the like and subscribe button are both great ways of showing your support. And don't forget to turn on notifications with the bell icon if you don't want to miss an upload on the Ironworker Gaming channel. Let's get into the review though with a look at Cerberus' stats and perks. CERBERUS+1 is an exotic kinetic auto rifle shooting at 360 rounds per minute with 31 rounds in the magazine. Pulling in the stats from Destiny Tracker, they're bad. They really are. Across the board, they are not pretty. But don't let these scare you away from the gun, because it really does perform very strangely. And I think as we move forward in this review, that's going to become pretty apparent. The intrinsic trait is Four-Headed Dog, shoots erratic bullets from all gun barrels at the same time. And as you can see in the picture, there are 4 barrels, but each trigger pull is only going to cost you 1 round from your magazine, not 4. Also, Cerberus has 3 barrel attachments, which I always thought was kinda humorous, but being that this is an exotic weapon, they're already factored into the weapon stats. The intrinsic trait is Spread Shot Package. Aiming this weapon reduces the spread of its projectiles. There's also a catalyst available for Cerberus, giving it focused fire. By holding the reload button, the weapon will swap to a tighter close range spread. But with that covered, let's head into PvE and check out some of this weapon's damage, functionality, and performance. Alright, first thing we should probably look at is the shot pattern on Cerberus. And as promised, when you pull the trigger, Cerberus is shooting 4 bullets at once. There is a center bullet that lands with the crosshairs, and then 3 other bullets form a triangle around it. And after studying these patterns for quite a while, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to how these exterior bullets are gonna land. It is completely random, which does add to the unpredictability of this weapon. And as you can see, when firing from the hip, this does result in a wider bullet pattern. When activating the alternate fire mode through the catalyst, we still see the same 4 bullet pattern with the 3 around 1 configuration, but the grouping is much tighter. Do keep in mind that this focused fire mode is close range only. The damage fall off is very quick. And speaking of damage, Cerberus' damage numbers are very peculiar. When in the standard fire mode, Cerberus has what most people refer to as reverse damage fall off. So the closer you are to a target, the less damage these bullets are going to do. And I'll be able to explain this a little bit better in the PvP section, because Bungie removed my tribute hull with Beyond Light, taking away my controlled test environment. But your reverse damage fall off is going to max out right around 50 meters, where it's going to begin to diminish. But keep in mind at this range, you're probably only going to land 1 out of the 4 bullets. But if we take a look at this thing at extreme close range, I mean pretty much barrel stuffing the target, all of those bullets will smush into 1 damage value, totaling out to 2,564 points of damage, if they all land as a crit. At what I would consider close range, a crit is landing for 641 points of damage, and the 3 exterior rounds are landing for 401 points of damage to the body. That's a total of 1,844 points of damage per trigger pull. Moving back to mid-range, crits are landing for 751 points of damage, and bullets that land on the body are hitting for 450 points of damage. We're at the point here where only 2 out of the 4 bullets are going to land consistently, so the damage we can rely on here is 1,201 points of damage per trigger pull. And from long range, only 1 out of the 4 bullets is going to land 99.9% of the time. So we're looking at 770 points of damage if that bullet lands as a crit. And please realize these are just rough estimations of the damage values. You take a step forward or a step backward, and these numbers are going to change. For a basis of comparison, we'll use False Promises, the Season of Arrival's 360 RPM auto rifle. When inside its optimal range, it's hitting for 1207 points of damage on a crit and 755 points of damage to the body. And really, read into these damage numbers however you want. I just wanted to give you something to measure it up against. Things are much less muddy when we look at the Focus Fire alternate fire mode. A full spread of crits from close range will hit for 4,453 points of damage. Close range body shots are landing for 923 points of damage per bullet, totaling out to 3,692 points of damage. Two things to note about the Focus Fire fire mode. One, it carries standard damage fall off. The further away from the target you are, the less damage you're gonna do. Two, this does drop the weapon's fire rate to about 200 rounds per minute, but we are outputting better damage at closer ranges. Performance-wise, what you're getting out of Cerberus though is a primary weapon that chews up anything from trash ads to major targets with no thinking required at close-ish ranges. You just point this weapon in an enemy's general direction and lay on the trigger, and Cerberus will pretty much take care of the rest. And you really don't even have to worry about being all that precise, because a lot of times, if you line up center mass, you're gonna land more bullets. And if you do want some more close range damage, something maybe more in line with a rapid fire shotgun, you can always switch to the focused fire mode. And since Cerberus does have a catalyst, and it's great at mowing down packs of ads, you're going to be making orbs, lots and lots of orbs. Especially since the spread from this weapon can hit multiple enemy targets with one trigger pull. And the reverse damage fall off from this weapon can work in your favor versus boss tier targets. They're big boys usually, giving you a higher likelihood of landing all 4 bullets. And since you are dealing more damage, if you have some ground between you and the target, you can keep clear of the boss's stomp radius while outputting decent damage. But as always, when looking at an exotic primary weapon in PvE, you always need to consider, is this your best use of the exotic slot, especially in higher end content? And the answer to that question is usually no. Then the reload and handling are bad. Being a warlock, I can negate this by using Ophidian aspects, but without them, Cerberus is really sluggish. But really in PvE, Ophidian aspects aren't what I want to be running. There are better exotic options out there for me. But if I equip something different, then I feel the need to spend some armor points on dexterity and loader mods for this weapon. So here again, this is a trade-off that you're going to need to weigh for yourself. But let's move into PvP and start things out with the damage numbers. Alright, I'm going to do my absolute best to get you some tangible damage numbers and approximate time to kill values. But these are by no means set in stone because that bullet spread is tied to RNG. Sometimes we're going to get lucky and more bullets from the spread are going to land, but there's always a very good chance that less bullets than we expect will actually land on the target. And given the reverse damage fall off, I think the best thing to do is test this at 5-meter increments. And for the time to kill, since this weapon is firing at 360 rounds per minute, I can calculate them off 6 rounds per second. And one thing to clarify, if I say trigger pull, what I mean is 1 round expended from the magazine. This is a fully automatic weapon and I am by no means suggesting that you need to tap fire these shots in. Alright, so at point blank range, each bullet is going to deal 25 points of damage if it lands as a crit. And if a full spread lands to the body, it's totaling out to roughly 64 points of damage. So the optimal time to kill here is 0.16 seconds by landing 8 bullets or 2 full spreads as crits. The body shot time to kill comes in at 0.33 seconds by landing 12 bullets or 3 full spreads to the body. Moving back to 5 meters, crits are still hitting for 25 points of damage and body shots are still hitting for 16. And at this range, if you are aimed at the head, you are most likely to land 1 crit in 1 body shot with a trigger pull. So optimal time to kill here, I'm calling it 0.67 seconds, figuring for 5 crits with an accompanying body shot with each. If you are aimed at the body, you're normally going to land 3 out of the 4 bullets. This is still going to take 5 trigger pulls in 0.67 seconds. And geez, this is really confusing, and I hope I'm explaining it okay. If I'm not, yell at me down in the comments and I will try to clarify. But moving on, back at 10 meters, a crit's going to land for 26 points of damage, and a body shot's going to deal 17 points of damage. From here, I figure if you're lined up on the head, you're only going to hit a crit with a body shot about 50% of the time. So the potential is there to hit that 0.67 second optimal time to kill in 5 trigger pulls. But if you get really unlucky and only single rounds are landing, it's going to take you 1.16 seconds by landing 7 crits and 1 body shot. Alright, stick with me on this one here. We're aiming at the body. We're still likely to see 3 rounds from the spread land. But now, because of the wider spread, there's a good likelihood that one of those bullets is also going to land as a crit. With 4 trigger pulls, if we land body crit with each, the time to kill is going to be 0.5 seconds. But if we're unlucky and only 2 bullets from the spread are landing, that's going to be a 0.83 second time to kill with 6 trigger pulls. Now back at 15 meters, we are far less likely to land multiple bullets in a single spread. Now there are absolutely times where multiple bullets will land, but this is going to be the last distance where I figure it in as a possibility. From here, crits are hitting for 28 points of damage, body shots are hitting for 18. Absolute best case scenario, you hit a crit and a body shot in a single spread. If this happens 5 times in a row, which it probably won't, but it could, 0.67 second time to kill. If spreads fired are only registering for a single crit from this distance, your optimal time to kill is going to be 1 second with 7 shots landed. If only single body shots are registering, this is going to result in a 1.67 second time to kill with 11 trigger pulls. At 20 meters, this is where the reverse damage fall off maximizes, dealing 30 points of damage on a crit and 19 points of damage to the body. From here out, I can only confidently credit Cerberus for landing 1 bullet out of a spread. So, optimal time to kill, 1 second, requiring 6 crits and 1 body shot, and body shot time to kill is going to be 1.67 seconds with 11 shots landed. Now this damage scenario holds true all the way back to the 50 meter mark. Once I step back to 55 meters, damage fall off had occurred. Alright, focus fire mode. If we land a full spread as crits from point blank range, 109 points of damage. Each shot to the body is going to land for 22.5 points of damage per bullet, totaling out to 89 points of damage. For our optimal time to kill, figuring this off of a 200 round per minute fire rate, if you land 1 full spread as crits and 1 full spread to the body, you will down your opponent in 0.3 seconds. 3 full spreads as body shots will also do the trick in 0.6 seconds. Alright, we move back to 5 meters. If we're aiming for the head, we start consistently missing 50% of the bullets. The body shot damage and consistency does hold steady from this distance though. Moving back to 8 meters, this is where we see bullets start to miss, even if we're aimed at center mass. True damage fall off begins at 13 meters, but moving back past that, our damage goes down the crapper really fast. And if you stayed awake through those damage numbers, congratulations. If you fell asleep, it's time to get up now, we're in the clear. Alright, performance wise, and why would you want to use Cerberus? Honestly, if you're an extremely skilled Crucible player, you probably wouldn't. I mean, you could, if you wanted to. A top tier Crucible player is going to carry a match with a rubber band and a fistful of paper clips. But the lack of consistency can be extremely frustrating. In higher end PvP content, most players want their weapon to be as reliable as possible. And I'm sure as you gathered from the damage numbers and time to kill values, this gun is anything but that. I mean, the reverse damage fall off is weird, you never know exactly how many bullets you're gonna land, and the time to kill values are all over the place. Plus, the handling is bad, the reload is slow, and Cerberus is predominantly a close range weapon. And unless you're extremely comfortable with it, I really couldn't recommend taking Cerberus into something like Trials or high-end comp. And then the alternate fire mode, I kinda don't see the point in PvP. It always seemed to me like you can accomplish pretty much the same thing with the standard fire mode. But some people do seem to like it. Maybe it's just one of those things that's not for me. That being said, I really do think that players from the mid to lower end of the skill spectrum could benefit from using this gun in 6v6 game modes, simply because of the ease of use that this weapon provides. You point Cerberus somewhere in the general direction of an enemy player and you are going to deal damage. And you don't even necessarily need to be aiming for crits, because depending on your distance, oftentimes aiming at center mass allows for more bullets from the spread to land, netting you more damage. And if you get lucky and a few extra rounds do land in a spread, you're going to hit a faster time to kill value. But even if they don't, you're playing 6v6, and there's oftentimes teammates around to clean up these kills for you. So this is still going to be netting you defeats, as long as you're not off on an island somewhere by yourself. And in the same vein, like we talked about in PvE, you can hit multiple targets with a single spread. And plus, since at close range the damage numbers are rather impressive, this is a solid choice if you like to play a little more aggressive. But it can be used defensively also. It's great for bursting down shotgun rushers before they can close the gap on you. And if you do get caught in a bad spot with Cerberus, sometimes just laying on the trigger allows you to shoot yourself out of a bad situation. And the last point I wanted to touch on is its ability to shatter stasis crystals. Fellow Warlock Ready Player One put me onto this. Cerberus does an extremely good job at bursting stasis crystals down. Being a Warlock, we do not have the ability to mass shatter stasis crystals through our subclass. Cerberus does serve as a very good substitute. It's obviously not going to recreate the effect that something like Shatter Dive has on them, but Cerberus did actually allow me to be rather effective with the Glacier Wall Grenade in the Crucible, and as a Warlock, this is something I thought I would never say. So for the verdict, I really do like Cerberus, and I think the bulk of the player base could see a great deal of success with it in PvP. It's a pretty strong and versatile auto rifle. And in PvE, it's an extremely fun and extremely effective weapon in most baseline activities. But that being said, I really don't feel like Cerberus is an endgame gun, regardless of which side of Destiny 2 you're looking at. Just the fact that it's an exotic primary holds it back in PvE, and the damage inconsistencies could have you pulling your hair out in high level comp or trials. But like I said, for most of your baseline content, Cerberus is a great gun that has always served me well and is a lot of fun to use. And since you made it to this point in the video, if you did enjoy it, please remember to leave it a like, consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel, and turn on notifications with the bell icon to ensure that you do not miss an upload. If you like to catch me live, I do occasionally stream on Twitch, and I'm actually kicking around the idea of streaming on YouTube real soon, just to see how it goes. If you'd like to contact me, just comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Or you could join up on our Discord server, I'll leave a link in the description. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, I will catch you on the next one.